America's Got Talent, more like we need them all. And it's really, we're talking about sourcing hacks for a talent hungry world. We all are in the point of all needing candidates all the time. With that being said, I need to share my screen before I forget because I will start talking and my day will go beside myself here. All right. All good. Can you thumbs up? Can you see my screen? Awesome. With that being said, our world is changing every single day, minute by minute at this rate with the concept of AI. So we're going to talk a little bit about traditional methods, what you should be setting up, what you should be doing for short-term reward, but also where the industry's going and things that you should start to think about with when it comes to sourcing for your organization. And I'm just going to kind of give you some pointers and what we're hearing. I talk to leaders all across our industry, what they're doing right, what they're failing to do, and here to talk about those things. So, with that being said, I think the first step of this conversation is an honest assessment. And that honest assessment is what is the state of your current talent acquisition context? Is it doing well? Are you struggling to find people? And it's the idea we shouldn't just be fishing. For those of you who follow me at all, you probably see my husband fishes for a living. He fishes for muskie. Um, you have to stop fishing in the same talent pools and start to create some ecosystems. So I will talk make sports references and fishing references. I apologize now ahead of time. Um, when this concept we're thinking about it, what your current state is, you have to think of the transitions of our industry. What is happening? So obviously AI is going to be constant advancement. Are you behind that curve? Are you ahead of that curve? When you think of skills, are you hiring based on skills or traditional qualifications? Maybe companies are really looking at candidates differently than they have in the past. Is there transferable skills? Because we're having a talent shortage. It's going to continue to happen. I'm going to give you some stats about that. But why are these traditional methods falling short? Because we've done this in our industry forever. I'm going to tell you a few reasons why your sourcing tactics are failing, and they oftentimes lead around lengthy and inefficient processes. So sometimes those traditional hiring methods often involve something that takes too long. And it can lead to lost opportunities for candidates. They move on to other things. Let's face it, we're in a world of digital immediate gratification. Everything's at our fingertips. They want to move faster. You didn't respond to them quicker. You didn't respond to their text because you were on a call. Oftentimes, there's cost associated with those traditional recruiting methods, including job postings, agency fees. You guys are experiencing that. People don't want to pay those. Whether it's turnover rates, they can be substantial. Let's face it, there's a lot of skill gaps in our industry right now. So maybe we're focused not just on the past, we're focused on the past, but not what they could potentially do. And really, we lack flexibility in a lot of traditional methods. They're often rigid, they're not well suited for the modern business need. So we need to start thinking differently about our talent. So, with that being said, I want to give you a few stats. Hold on, let me go ahead and give you all of them in case you read faster than I do. Um, Obviously, a lot of you know Bullhorn. According to the Bullhorn Grid report, 50% of staffing firms cited that talent acquisition was their top priority in 2024. 50%. Is that something that you guys are thinking about? But more importantly, I don't have the stat on here. 61% of staffing leaders cite sourcing as their top challenge. 61%. But 37% of that group blame it on inefficient tools. We are blaming tools as the problem to not find talent. So, how are you adjusting? What are you thinking? 37% of firms reported candidate acquisition was their biggest challenge in 2024 alone. I also want you to think about your ratios. I have been a coach in this industry for many years, and I am a sucker for a good stat. That comes with my sports background. I was a pitcher. And I was a pitcher in college in Division One. I could never get my no hitter if I did not, or my perfect game if I did not get critique on my no hitter. So you need to think about that. What is my placement strategy? How can I make that result better? So, what is your application to interview ratio? The application to interview ratio in 2023 was around 2%. Are you better or worse than that? Meaning that for every 100 applicants that a job posting received, 2 applicants were invited to interview for that role. This is lower than employees would like to see, obviously. There's interview ghosting really plaguing our entire industry. So, how are we fixing that? What processes are we putting into place? What about your interview to hire ratio? Interview hire ratio in 2023 was 36%. This is slightly down from last year, but when you consider that just 2% of applicants were invited to interview in the first place, and then having an interview to hire conversion rate of 36%, that means that employers are far more efficient later in the hiring process. Only 0.6% of those people are being placed. That means you have to have at least like 150 good candidates to get 3 people interviewing whenever we think about direct, at least. There was also a study by Korn Ferry in 2023 that they talked about by 2030, there's going to be a global talent shortage of over 85 million people. So potentially resulting in $8.5 trillion in unrealized annual revenue. So, with all of these stats that we're seeing, and knowing that hiring managers only spend an average of 7 seconds looking at a candidate's resume, how are we addressing this problem differently? Are we eliminating anything going through the cracks? Are we evaluating things on our own in our own internal processes? Or are we with that 30? Whoa, I clicked a button and I don't know what I clicked. I'm so sorry. Or are we with that 37% that is blaming it on the tech? So, with all of that being said, there's some short-term hacks. Whenever we think short-term hacks, my 9-year-old and 11-year-old like to say there's a hack for everything. I don't even know if they know the concept of what a hack is. But we need to think about where we can get that immediate gratification. So, with that being said, we need to think about what are the processes that we know that are tried and true to our industry, and are we making sure that they happen in our process? Are we feeling that impact? Obviously, we all use job boards. By raise of hands, how many use job boards? I heard a few people say before this call, we were talking about AI, they would love to eliminate LinkedIn or Indeed, the necessary evils of this industry, right? Job boards do produce quantity, but not always quality. Obviously, there's a stark difference, but we obviously, when we do this, depending on your industry, there's a concept, right? We don't just post and pray. We don't just have crap job descriptions. But we also have to know, are we navigating those job board options? Are we evaluating our investments? You're going to see on the right-hand column over here, we actually gave you an insight. I don't know if you can see it over here. This tells me in Crelate how many people, where they came from, where their sources were. In my 97 candidates, I know this big green portion was resumes already in the system. There's a big concept from Career Builder in the orange. There's some, it's hard for me to see all those things that if I can't zoom in on them, my old eyes can't see them. But we have to understand and evaluate our assessment. When I ran a desk, I had to go through and fight every single year for my LinkedIn recruiter seats to say I can't not have it because X number of candidates came from there. You still need to pay the money because this is the investment and the ROI we got on that. You need to do that with your tools, whether it's every quarter, every year, or when those contracts come up. We obviously want quality over quantity, and we have to shift through that mess. So we have to understand with our job boards if our cost is worth the payoff. That's part of it. But once that stuff gets into our system, I'm going to sound like a dentist right now. That data in your database starts to decay. It becomes something that if you don't revisit it, it's like if you don't use it, you lose it, if you've ever heard those terms. So there's obviously some daily things that we should do, and there's some annual things we should do. Now, AI is changing this whole world right now. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Trish and I talked to a smidge about some agents and what they can do. But if you're not, obviously, as you look at your database, you should be assigning your candidates and client records to people in your system. You should have standardization of your data and your entry. Are you using functional titles when you enter them? Are you having misspellings because people don't spell their titles correctly, so therefore you can't search accurately? Do you give them drop downs? It seems like this is such a basic concept, but when we see people come into Create, we also see how chaotic their systems are and why they're not finding people because they don't have the system set up the right way to begin with. There's a lot of manual fields. Um, I also trained on at another place right before I came here. I was a director of learning and development, and the required fields in a candidate record, I think, totaled 25. If you're requiring your recruiters to put 25 manual fields in automatically, you're never going to get what you need out of this system. You're going to get false data. You're going to get a false idea of where your business is going, and you're not going to have anything to really build up your business. That's who your business is. It's the candidates and the clients that you have today. On an annual maintenance, you need to think about identifying and removing inaccurate records. Do your candidates not have emails, phone numbers? If they don't have emails and phone numbers, why are you holding on to Bob that retired from ABC company back in Vietnam? Why do we still have him in our database? There's no point. We need to merge duplicates. That's a huge. We need to purge old data. Stop holding on to things just because we think it's valuable to hold on to. Make sure it has actual value. So these are things that you should do a once or twice a year effort. I'm going to talk about these, and you guys are like, I know this, Kortney. Referrals and references, and I like to also think reverse recruiting, like being the digital detective on someone's resume. These are honestly your most valuable internal recruiting assets. These are going to make the biggest impact, but I'm going to tell you, they're done the least frequently. When you think of hiring, why employee referrals work is that 40% of company hires come from employee referrals. I didn't make up that stat. Referral conversation rates reach 20 to 40% compared to that 0.6% traditional post and pray method. So we can get to the dollar faster. And that's what this is all about. Who do you know? Who would you like to work with? Employee referrals actually increase job matches likelihood by 2.6%. And smaller organizations, about 50% of referrals actually become hires. But what I can tell you is, from my perspective, from a training aspect, I see 8 out of 10 people never ask for a referral, never ask for a reference. Or if they do, they're too busy to catch up because honestly, you know as well as I do, we're putting out dumpster fires every single day. You can't proactively do anything. I see a lot of heads and a lot of lips purse like, that's me. But this is where AI can be implemented in a huge way. If you automate these processes as soon as you have a candidate to ask for a referral, text for a reference, however you want your process to work, because meeting your candidates where they are is huge. You need to work smarter, not harder, so you have higher conversion rates, you're closer to the dollar, and referrals and references should be number one on your implementation list if your teams aren't doing it today. Obviously, standing out from your competition. I know this sounds easy, but we all think we're special. I can tell you, in working with offices across the entire United States and globally, they're saying, well, people should want to work with me. I've been in business for 15 years or 50 years. But I don't think it's about how long you've been in business. What are you doing differently, and how are you making your candidates and clients feel differently while they're working with you? I am going to include clients in this process because it's the same concept, even though we're talking about sourcing. We need to leverage the insights we have to be able to get more out of it. And honestly, we're also going to talk about social media because whether you like it or not, it's a necessary evil in this industry. And 58% of recruiters use social media to promote not only their personal brand, but their employer brand. And that is honestly your always on campaign. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. So, what is your candidate experience? And if you haven't, I would encourage you to go through the candidate experience and encourage your recruiters to say, go fill out this job, go see what this is, go interview with somebody that we're talking to see how long it takes, to see what the process is. You as a leader could do that as well. So what are you doing differently when it comes to attracting? What's your first impression? Because I'm going to tell you, first impressions no longer start when you're on the phone. First impressions actually start when people are looking you up and stalking you on Glassdoor. They're finding out what people are saying about you, whether you like it or not. So your first impression starts well before the conversation. What are they saying? What awards have you gotten? What are you celebrating? Uh, what is the expectations and are you setting them? What is the ease of use of your application? How long is it? How many clicks? Is it mobile friendly? Because depending on your industry, people are doing stuff on their phone, not on the computer. Many times they don't even want to open one. Is there repeat questions? This is one that I get a lot of times where like I answered that question 3 times. I'm not answering it again. Um, what is the length of time they're talking to someone? What is the interview? Is the process clear? Do they know next steps? Because honestly, when you talk to a candidate, they're like, I don't know. When I hear from them, I hear from them. That's most of the time what your candidates are saying. And then post interview, this is how you stand out. What are you doing differently? What is your follow up? Are you prepping them for an interview? These are the things that can make the most difference for your teams in that candidate experience. We talked about transferable skills. I think the World Economic Forum said that nearly 70 million new jobs will be created worldwide and 83 million eliminated by 2027. It's 2025. Due to these rapid challenges, almost half the workforce is going to be reskilled or upskilled to meet modern business needs. Let that sink in. That's 1.4 billion people need to be upskilled or reskilled. So we need to start thinking about our candidates differently. So we have to add in 20 million students enrolled in colleges and universities who already have a 53% chance of heading towards underemployment due to lack of relevant skills. Houston, we have a serious problem. So we need to figure out what we're doing differently. It's time for us to think differently about our candidates and how we're helping mold that. I personally, this is my stance, I don't think AI is going to replace us. They're going to reskill us. AI is constantly moving. They're just going to change how we're working, who we're working with, and what way we're working. So we need to figure out if we're doing that same thing for our candidates to be able to sell them differently, figure out what they can do and make sure we're selling them, because it's going to go back to the human element of it can't just be an email that they're reading. You have to truly understand your people. I don't know if you know this. I was an MRI trainer for years and I did new franchise training. And when people came on site for after their 12 weeks, we did something called test your MPC. So they actually had to have an MPC and I got a resume and I'm like, why should I hire this person? And I quizzed them on everything about their candidate to say, you can't just post and pray. You can't just throw a candidate. You can't just kick it over. You truly have to understand, because probably most of you got into this industry because you wanted to help people, and we can't lose sight of that. So after you're reaching out to these people and you're sourcing these people and you're trying to figure out, are they the right people? You cannot lose track of them. Most of the time, it goes into our database, it decays, they gain cobwebs, you don't talk to them. And the number one complaint about recruiters is they call too frequently in the beginning. They call to get what they want, and then they never call me again. That's the second complaint. They never follow back up. So when you have a communication strategy that's set up in your system, this is just an example of Crelate, but this is a communication strategy. So it's a sequence that sends out. So you see first email, second, is it a text? Third, what is my process? And that can be easily determined by your leadership team to say, hey, this is what my top producer is doing. I want to mimic it so I can upgrade all of my B-level recruiters to their A-level processes. So that includes your references, your referrals, re-engagement, because let's face it, how many people are sitting in your database that you've not even talked to or sent an email in the last 6 months? So what are we doing differently to make sure we're getting these people back in top of funnel to get them back to a conversation? I'm going to keep talking because I'm not very far along and I have a lot more to talk about. So we're going to also talk about unconventional talent sources. Meet them where they are. I know this is easier said than done. And I don't think I was thinking of something. I have a video. I'm not going to show you. I'll tell you about it though in a minute. But we need to tap into, if you don't, like when I ran a desk, I was an IT recruiter. I was tapping into user groups. I was attending Code Mash. I was attending sessions where they were coming to our office we'd buy them pizza to get them all where they needed to be. Obviously, a lot of you, I see you. You're in conferences and associations. You're in associations like this, and you're going to conferences. But you have to do the same thing in your industry as well, and exploring job fairs and special talent pools. So, are you in the social channels? Because let's face it, how many of you have been on Reddit lately? Anybody? I see some eyebrows raised, but let's face it, I don't go on Reddit. Some of your industries, your candidates are on Reddit. That makes me want to like puke in my mouth. But I'm just not ready to go to those places. But let's face it, we need to tap into these things. So harness your social media. I will tell you I'm on TikTok all day, every day. But do I look for sourcing strategies? Do I look for candidates? No, but they're there. There's a lot of people there. Are you in Facebook groups? Are you in Instagram? Are you following thought leaders on Instagram? Because you think about these things, and are like, people aren't on these places. It's just LinkedIn or it's just these places. But honestly, depending on your industry, they're everywhere. So understand if your people, X was a big thing for me whenever I was in IT recruiting. There was a lot of people there. So understand your social channels, and I would encourage you, whether you want to or not, don't vomit in your mouth like I just did, but go to those places to try to figure out a little bit more of what else you can do. Other places you can go. You can probably take a screenshot of this. This is some sourcing tools that are beyond the norm. I don't necessarily know Doximity. Has anybody ever heard of that? It is for healthcare professionals. Behance is for creative professionals like designers and marketers. Rally Point is for military and vets. GitHub for developers. Dribble is also for creatives. AngelList is for investors. Telegram, there's a lot of private groups that you can search. Discord is for gamers. Hunter.io is one of my favorite tools that you can extract email addresses from, and it's completely free. Mighty Recruiter has candidate and contact information. And let's not forget the use of AI and Boolean creation. Those are all free tools on the left. Now, on the right, I can tell you we partner with some amazing people that have stuff like the dreaded Zoom Infos and Hire Easy and Seek Outs and Resume Library and Interstellar. And we actually have our own version of this, Create Data Enrichment, as well as a discovery agent that we just launched. So there's a lot of tools out there that are free. Do they give you all that you want? Like LinkedIn Recruiter? Not always, but can they give you a different version of what you want? Absolutely. So I would encourage you to take a look, take a screenshot, and explore some of these other ones, or just do some research of what other sourcing tools are out there that you're not aware of in your industry. Okay. Meet your audience where they are. I don't know. Has anyone ever seen this clip? I can't share it. I will send it to you, Leona, later. There is some foul language, so I was also advised not to share it. May or may not have a 4-letter word. But the concept of this is they're in, I believe, Seattle, and a woman is passing a business card in this comedy show. And he's like, "What the heck's going on?" And she's like, "I'm a recruiter." And lo and behold, half of the audience was a group of developers that was there, and she knew where her audience was. So she intentionally bought a ticket because she knew a group of those developers were going to be there. Very funny. But it essentially goes to the idea of meet your audience where they are. Are you going to networking events? Are you going to associations and meetings in your industry? Not staffing and recruiting industry, but your industry that you serve. Are you doing industry conferences, job fairs, university days? I don't know how many of you have ever used Handshake. Handshake is something for college interns, user groups, hackathons, industry trade shows, meetups, alumni events, summer internships. But what I would encourage you is to ask. Ask where your people are. Where are you looking? What are you looking at? Are you in a Reddit group? Did you see something online? Where did you see it? That was my favorite question when I was searched for developers. It was like, what else are you looking at? Where else do you find information? Ask the question. So meet them where they are. Oop. Okay. There's another tool. I'm not quite sure. This is a free tool. This is called X-ray sourcing. It is something that you can actually use to find and essentially bypass LinkedIn's recruiting limits. So X-ray involves a Google search that scrapes LinkedIn profiles for free, which means you can really view their profiles without being restricted by those packaging limits. So when you search, you can see I'm going to put in Director of Industry Relations in the US and exclude the word manager, and it will give me, it is time consuming, but it's free. You can click on those LinkedIn profiles to see what you need to know and who you can reach out to, and then connect with them separately on LinkedIn or send them a message. So, another way to find some candidates. Raise your hand if you learned something new so far, or a new sourcing tool, or new something. Okay, I'm on the right track. I love it. That is traditional methods. I'm going to say that is traditional methods. This is meet them where they are. This is be different, stand out. But the future of where we are is changing. I just interviewed our CEO here at Creates about our product and kind of the concept of AI. And he said, literally, 3 months ago to today, everything's different. I'll tell you, I gave this talk at Staffing World last year. My talk has completely changed because AI is changing it daily. So as we think about things, it is not just can I go put stuff in ChatGPT and find candidates? Because let's face it, a year ago, ChatGPT was making up fake candidates, fake companies to tell you what your competitors were, but they didn't even exist. That's not today. So we need to think how we're using your systems as a platform, a living platform, which I'm going to talk about. So, but AI isn't the catalyst that amplifies. It is the catalyst that amplifies your capabilities, not shortcuts and bypasses your effort. Because let's face it, effort's still involved. The human connection's still involved. But it's how do I get to those conversations faster? How do I get to all the people that I need to get? How do I get there at scale? So, let me hit you with some stats. 61%. Oh, I already told you that one. You're struggling with outdated sourcing methods that 30% of forward-thinking HR leaders are already using. So 38% of our industry in HR, talent acquisition, are already using AI for talent discovery and cutting their shortlisting time by 50%. That's huge. The harsh truth, sourcing was built for a world of static databases, manual searches, bullying. That world's extinct now. So I'm going to say something that's going to be very controversial. I already told Adrian and Leona and Trish this earlier. But sourcing of what we know is dead. It's not the same anymore. You're still going to do those things, but it's on steroids now. It's how do I get there faster? What do I know? How do I do things differently? So we're going to talk about that. AI is amazing, right? We know this. How many of you don't use AI every day? Okay, I figured that was an easier question than how many of you do. I can tell you it depends on who I'm using. And I like to say, like, I cheat on my boyfriend. Like, Claude is my favorite, but Grok is amazing whenever I'm doing internet research. I am the most faithful person to my husband, but I cheat on my AIs all the time. I love them all. So you have to find out what you use the most. In my world, I more of a thought leader, a speaker. I use Claude a lot. They also have an artifacts tool that helps create infographics, very easy. I use ChatGPT. I used Gemini for a while. He's not my favorite, but that's okay. But Grok is one of my new favorites as well for internet research. There are so many different AI tools. They're coming, and I'm ahead of our partnerships here at Create. I am literally having AI tools come at us and apply for our partnerships every single day. And it's hard to keep up with. Like, what do you do? Who are you with? How are you different than this? Like, it's crazy how fast they're coming out of the woodwork. But that doesn't mean we need to be distracted by the shiny object. That just means we have to be more specific. And in recruiters, when we're working, with recruiters, what we've heard that people want recruiters to do. I'm going to go through this list. What recruiters want is sourcing that automatically qualifies candidates. That'd be nice, right? Mass outreach that stands out from other mass outreach written messages. Automatically screens my candidates, automatically qualifies my candidates, schedules my interviews, generates targeted offers, manages my placements, my start dates, my communication, it markets my insights, and it has targeted marketing and sales communication. You want it to do your job for you holistically, don't you? That's what we run into. That's what we've heard, but we've translated. What we really know people need it to do is need help. Us humans need help to do more human things by reducing friction and time between human touch points. And we need it to help us stay organized because let's face it, we're creating those, we're putting out those dumpster fires. We're not creating them. I mean, we might be in some cases. And then we're also revealing ideas to unlock data that maybe needs to prompt a response from a recruiter or next steps. Because how many of you talk to a candidate and you're like, a week later, you're like, oh crap, I never reached out to them? Because I can tell you, I do that. It happens. So we need AI to help us do things a little bit smarter. So the next evolution in recruiting tech is here. I'm not quite sure if you've seen a lot of the new things that are coming out. People are talking about them. They're talking about automations, which have been around for a while. They're talking about agents, which is new and scares people. So we're going to talk about some of those things and how we can automate. We talked about automating references and referrals. Let's talk about what else we can automate. But real recruiter intelligence, think about that. We want AI to be using the data we've spent our time and effort and sweat and tears to put into our system. We want that data. Yeah, we want the other data outside too, but like we already have the data at hand. How do we use that more efficiently? So we talk about something called an AI living platform. We have all been in the world of generative AI for the past year and a half. Hey, help me write an email. Hey, help me do this. Help me summarize. That's great. We actually have our own generative AI built in. So you can see it'll help draft an email. It'll help summarize a resume. My favorite thing is it'll help me remember the things that I've forgotten because it's going to tell me that Aaron's last been engaged with and maybe I should reach out to him. Or Aaron's birthday was a day ago. Oh, crap, you didn't wish him a happy birthday. It gives me a reason to reach out to them. Guess what? It's also going to tell me that the LinkedIn profile that I have on file in his my ATS is wrong and I need to update it with a click of a button. Let's fix it. That's where I need the AI assistant. That's what I need help with. So, with that being said, how does it help our sourcing? And I told you, sourcing is dead. If you're still manually combing through LinkedIn, you're not necessarily just the modern recruiter if that's the only method you're using. However, if you're using agents, like we have here, I'm going to show you. It's really you're moving with the modern recruiter times. These agents are working 24/7, 7 days a week, and it is baffling to me. I mean, you hear people like Rich Rosner and Trisha Tamkin, and everybody talk about these things, and it's like it was almost like this curse word. I'm like, how do I? What is an agent, and where do I find them? The nice part is, I mean, we have them built in too, but it's finding candidates not only in my database but beyond. So I can literally go talk into a system. Like this is an example. I can tell it what I need, and it's going to say, okay, you need a VP of sales. Sales strategy and leadership is a skill. Vice president is the level I need to be thinking about. 15 years of experience, and it's going to give me these people right here. But not all of these people are in my system. These people are they're pulling from external sources too. So how many times, I'm going to ask you here, how many times do you go and say, I'm going to search for a candidate, and then you search on LinkedIn and then you go down a rabbit hole? You're like, ooh, who's that? Oh, what's that? Oh, what was I searching for? Oh, where was I going? Oh, I'm going to go check my email. Maybe you guys are better than I am. But oftentimes when we leave our system, ATS in general, we cut down our time to fill. I'm not saying you shouldn't check your text messages or do what you're doing, but if we could consolidate in a platform to give you everything that you need, you're going to save yourself time and money. So these agents are starting to think global, right? They're still starting to think about inside of your database that's helping you analyze your database, find hidden connections, identify candidates you have frankly forgotten about because there are too many people that you're talking to on a daily basis. It's helping you think intelligently and about expanding on potential candidates that might be just outside the cuff, but they have transferable skills to say they're good enough that I probably could present them as an opportunity or a candidate for this opportunity. So this is our discovery agent. Trish, you'll probably see a little bit more on this as you ask questions. But you can narrow down the company size you're looking for, the company age you're looking for. Are they a premature company that's only been in business a year? Well, no, I want someone that's established. I want to pull from these companies that have been around for a while from sourcing methods. Um, you can even find funding dates. It gives you a lot of information. So I want you to stop sourcing, start discovering, not only in your database, but out. We also have, this shows you another screenshot, but it matches your keywords and what you're looking for in your database and out. But our insights agent, think about the way of work. Your sourcers and your maybe even your BDRs, because I don't know if anybody has seen Whippy. Whippy is a AI tool that we integrate with. AI or Whippy has actually completely replaced the BDR. We did a webinar yesterday with them, and Tim Keckler, our solution architect, called and had a full-on conversation, tried to throw it off, and it literally took all the skills, scheduled a demo, figured out what's next so they can schedule your interview. They can do all of those things for you as well. So our roles are changing. Our sourcers might be going away, and they all might become recruiters. And our BDRs might be going away, and they all might just be upskilled to be AEs. It's not a world that it's detrimental that we're losing things, but we're helping upskill our industries. So it can track your career progression of your candidates. How many times do you go and you say, oh my gosh, Adrian, I haven't caught up with him in so long. Oh crap, he got a promotion. I didn't know that. He has different skills. These agents are working on the back end of your systems, and they are helping you figure out what the latest greatest is, what the latest job is, what they're doing, any additional skills. Because oftentimes I can tell you, when I was running my desk, I said, I want you to call me if one of two things happens. I want you to call me if you get a new job, get a new skill, or you're interested in a job. Those are the two things. Well, guess what? I've eliminated the need for one. I still want them to call me, but I already know you have new skills. I already know you have a new job. So again, if we're sourcing and leaving our platform, your platform isn't serving you. It's kind of sabotaging you. We don't want that to happen. And last but not least, the future belongs to those who really truly embrace this AI powered platform. So there's no more LinkedIn to database, database to email. Everything happens all together simultaneously. It really helps drive and give the insights. So this is actually this a discovery agent, and I used Create as an instance, but I looked up and it literally told me how many people are here, how many senior people are here, how many VPs, how many executives, who are the decision makers and which that I need to talk to. Because let's face it, how many times do you struggle with who are the person that I should be reaching out to, and you're trying to map your own org chart? It's tough sometimes. So 86% of companies report that they hire faster with the use of responsible AI. And that's what this is. So I would encourage you to figure out how AI is in your process. Now, if you still love to put in prompts, I still use prompts every single day. I'm a sucker for all those things. I have officially, I'm very close to boomer in my mind. So I love the idea of still being able to prompt my own things. I think that's my type A personality, like to having control. Shh, don't tell anybody. But we also have this use case book for 10 use cases in the recruiting industry that you could copy and paste and use in ChatGPT. If you so want to, you can scan that little QR code and you can get the book. I'm not saying that this is dead by any means, but we're going so far past that at this point in time. We have to figure out what's next. People are still using ChatGPT to find people, to find candidates, to find competitors, to find analysis, and that's okay. But my question to you is, what is the cost of inaction? What is the cost of not adding AI sourcing or discovering into your system? By a show of hands, how many of you have AI in some capacity with your sourcing or discovery methods? Does anybody? Ooh, I see Leona. We just have to think the window for competitive advantage is rapidly closing, because so many people are adopting AI and adopting the sourcing methods and trying to find people faster, get them on the phone faster, find them differently, be different in their process. It really comes down to the window's very small. Companies adopting AI really miss out on handling up to like 95% of routine tasks automatically. And let's face it, we are not personal assistants, but sometimes I truly feel like I'm a personal assistant, not trying to forget everything when I'm helping people run their desks. It's what is the trade off? Is it worth the little bit of time on my front end as a leader to help create new sourcing strategies, to be different in my sourcing strategies? At my last organization, I was hired to be the director of learning and development, and they had zero training whenever I came in. And I created just processes around this is step one, this is step two, this is step three. This is your inefficiencies that your leadership team, hey, you guys think talent in chair means this, but your team wasn't taught it and they think it's this. So you have a false premise of where your business is going. I was uncovering stuff like that. We changed production and revenue, and we increased that by 183% just by including processes. And I don't want to say SOP people to death because let's face it, no one reads SOPs. You have to make it simple. You have to set up your system to make it easier for your people. And that comes down to if it's an A-level job order, this is where you should go. If it's a B-level job order, where else can I find people? This is my first step. My database is my first step in finding candidates because I'll tell you, I would say 60% of people are going back, not even going to the well every time. They are going back to a job board every single time they have a need. And all the stuff that you have in your system that you're paying them to put in to have value. And if you as an owner, that is what you're reselling. Whenever you come to Succession and you say, all right, I'm at my time, I need to sell and get out, it's not worth anything. So I want you to think about how you create structure and scale with your business because most of it comes down to process and process is not even being established with your technologies. So by 2025, AI is going to, and AI agents can perform complex tasks like conversations, automating processes, and obviously companies with these are going to feel severe operational advantages. So I want you to start thinking about these things as you continue. But social awareness and social branding is huge. I don't know how many of you follow me. I get sick of seeing my own content, so I don't blame you if you don't follow me. This is in today's competitive world is how you're standing out. Thought leaders, people that are talking about brands, they're magnetic. People are following them and what they have to say. So your people in your industry, whether it's manufacturing, light industrial, if you're in the idea of accounting, wherever it is, you have to have valid information and complex details of what they should know and what they shouldn't know. Is there a new trend? Uh, is there a new regulation when it comes to shipping and logistics? You have to be able to give these people information. But that this is your always on campaign. So if your people are on Facebook, you should be there. You should be posting. My people, like you, are on LinkedIn. So that's where I post. So this involves your always on campaign that consistently engages your target audience. I know I'm not telling you anything new. Most people will tell me, I just don't like to post videos. That's okay. Leona, I think I heard you say that before everyone joined. I don't like to create videos or I don't like how I look or whatever. That's okay. I don't either. I hate to hear myself talk and I run a podcast. I never re-listen to my episodes ever. I listen to them one time and that's it. But you have to tailor your content that speaks directly to the needs and the interest of your candidates when you're sourcing. Madeline May is somebody that's amazing when it comes to helping job seekers update their resumes efficiently. She helps them think about what they should be doing. You should be doing the same thing for your audience. If you're in sales, you should be thinking about it on a different lens of your C-suite executives. What do they need to know? What are the trends for 2025? What's the most important thing that they should digest? Maybe you're talking about healthcare workers. How many healthcare workers have faced burnout, compensation changes, industry shifts from COVID? Be talking about the things that matter to your audience. So make sure when you're creating content, you think of two things. You think of yourself as a company, what you should be posting, and you think about your individual employees. Crelate is a brand. I am hired by Crelate. but I don't always post Crelate content. Sadly, a lot of people don't even know that the full desk experience is even tied to Crelate because they look at the podcast to say, oh my gosh, it gives value. We don't talk about Crelate at all in any way, shape, or form. I've talked about it more here than I ever talk about it on the podcast. So I want you to think of one of two things. Your candidates aren't just following your company. Let's face it, I have way more followers than Crelate does. They're following the people. People work for people. People follow people. You all know that. So you have to get your team encouraged to doing the same things. Make it simple, give them content, give them repostable things. So whether you're thinking about your own compelling and value proposition for employees, for per jobs, what makes you unique? Why should you work with you? Why should you follow this job? But also think about attracting talent. Is it testimonials? Is it success stories? Are you celebrating your NPS scores? Are you giving video summaries for your jobs that are open today? Are you doing a rant? Because I'll tell you from my personal experience, the two things that do best for me aren't pictures. They're videos that are this way, not horizontal, they're vertical. I couldn't think of the word. Sorry. So they're vertical, they're short and digestible, or just words. My pictures don't do crap for my content most of the time. So, something to think about. Here's just a few of the things that I'm posting. I like colors. If you know me, I have 34 different suits and different colors. That is my brand. That's who I am. So I love colors and brightness. So you need to think about creating content that is your brand. Do you have to post as much as I do? Absolutely not. Do you have to post about things that are important to your industry? Absolutely. Additional things that you can do. I love a good quote card. Maybe it's a quote. Oh, I pushed a button again. It's a quote from your candidates about your process. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll actually see references or recommendations on LinkedIn from when I was placing candidates 15 years ago. They're still on my LinkedIn profile. Are you posting webinars like this? Are you posting? I recently did a post with Jobs Ohio in the Washington Post, but it is impactful. That job or that post with the Washington Post was about business opportunities in Ohio and why businesses should open businesses in Ohio because it's the lowest tax area. Cost of living is fourth in the nation. But you have to post things that people are interested in, and whether you want to or not, I would encourage you to at least post 3 to 4 days a week. When I was training back in the day, just 5 years ago, I was telling people a 10-4-3. 10 likes a day, you should be scrolling on LinkedIn with your audience that is the most impactful. So if you're in sales, it should be hiring authorities. If you're with candidates and it's on Facebook, wherever it is, like at least 10 posts. That's easy. I scroll and I do that at night. Like. Easy. 4 comments a day. It can be thought-provoking. It doesn't have to say nice content. Adrian, oh my gosh, what is your favorite part about your vacation? Or whatever it was, if they posted about your vacation. Ask the question. Ask a conversation to make them know that you're there. And then I would say 3 to 4, which would be on a weekly, is to post your own content 3 to 4 times. So these are things that are going to get you in front of your audience that you're always on campaign. I don't know what just happened. Am I still sharing? Yes, I'm still sharing the wrong screen. There we go. I have a rolly mouse and it doesn't like me today, so I apologize. So with all of that being said, I'm going to go back to, I don't know if you're like me and you have a hard time trying to figure out when and where to post. I am a sucker for, I can't go post on LinkedIn at the time and the day and the place that I want to do it. This is actually a free tool. So free, you heard me. Buffer.com, BUFF. Oh, I need to switch them, don't I? Display settings, swap presenter mode. This right here, buffer.com. I post all of my content through here so I can spend a Friday afternoon spending an hour to make sure my posts are created and out to my audience. Because if I'm not there, the LinkedIn algorithm hates me and it'll say, guess what? You haven't posted in 3 days. We don't care. We're not going to push your content. It's a game anymore. There's an algorithm, there's checks and balances. So I would encourage you to get a platform if you don't have one. This one's free, to be able to go post your own content to your audience. And last but not least, how we hire and the effort we put into all of our processes impacts who we hire. It is your effort. So, obviously, in today's presentation, we talked about strategies to enhance candidate sourcing efforts. We talked about immediate impacts, focusing on actions that you should be making sure your automations are set up for your references and your referral for immediate impact. Cost to hire will decrease. Um, we talked about tools that you can be using whenever it comes to AI. Generative is something we're doing. I would encourage you to look into AI agents. Meet them where they are. Go to comedy clubs, go to other places where you know your audiences are going to be. And please, please, please go to industry conferences that impact your industry, not just staffing and recruiting. So, with all of that said, I have 6 minutes. Look at me go. 6 minutes. I can answer any questions. Um, any questions that you guys have, and I'm also going to put a link in as well. I will leave this up. This is our full desk experience. This is our podcast. If you're interested in being on a panel as an interview, if you have a topic you want to hear about, shoot me an email. You can email at fulldesk@create.com or kharmon, which is my email, at create.com.